Welcome to the Musical Moments with Tanya. Today we have a very special guest, Ludmila Liebman, a doctor of musical arts. In her childhood, she was educated in St. Petersburg, a cradle of Russian music the way we know it, connected with such wonderful names as Michael Glinka, Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, Anton Rubinstein. Ludmila, can you tell a little more about your background and your life in music in Russia and in the United States?
First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me to this very prestigious program. I'm really enjoying being here with you and seeing the Sharon Music Academy. Thank you for inviting me again. Yes, I was raised in St. Petersburg, and I consider myself very lucky. Of course, all the best was there. The best theater, the best museum, the best concerts that were held there. And of course, when the first conservatory was opened in Russia in 1862, it was the St. Petersburg Conservatory. By the way, very close, I believe it was 1867, here in Boston, was established New England Conservatory, and very close to this time, Boston Conservatory. So even these chronological points connect those two cities, St. Petersburg and Boston.
I never have gotten to study in St. Petersburg, but my teachers who were, they really let us know that even people who work in the factory and the plant, they were staying in line to get the tickets to the Philharmonic Society, and they were whistling the symphonies by Shostakovich. Was the level of music culture that high?
Well, I would love to say yes. When we came here in 1991, and I was accepted for the doctoral program at Boston University, and started teaching at first a little bit as an assistant, and then after I defended my doctoral dissertation, I was invited to stay on the faculty, and I was a full-time professor there, teaching theory.
Maybe you can just cover a couple of points where you see the difference and similarities.
Of course, I will.
Very briefly.
I will give you just one very important point, because working at Leningrad Conservatory and teaching those who needed to know music theory, we only dealt with those young people who chose music as their profession. But they all needed to study theory to complete their music professional degree. Here I am in Boston, at Boston University School for the Arts, and I have students who absolutely don't want to become professional musicians. So why do you study theory? So they were music majors, but they were music minors, but they were not musical major at all. So people who are computer engineers, people who are economists, financial workers, accountants, future doctors, they would come and take theory because either they played when they were children the piano, or violin or anything else, or because they play in a band.
Or it's just easier to understand rather than to do. And still they deal with music. And
that could
music.
Be. That could
it's
be.
Such an interesting moment, because I was teaching for 7 years in Moscow, theory in solfeggio and harmony and polyphony and analysis of musical forms. And amazing enough, I taught professionals, and they always negotiated with me. Why do we need theory? We only come to you to study modulation, dominant seventh chord. You sing like you love them so much. And that was very, very sweet and funny at the same time.
Common belief is that music theory is very boring. And my goal as a teacher, and probably yours as I see you teach, is to let them know, our students or our listeners, to let them know that music theory is phenomenally interesting.
You know what? Now I teach the course that I deliberately call applied theory, never theory, applied theory. When I teach piano, I sprinkle it with theory knowledge all the time, but I never just say this is this and this is that. I always say how it helps children being performers, how to incorporate it and how to make the sense out of it. And the most beautiful example for the theory, like theory needs me to be the ambassador, but I am Fleischer, who is a professor a professor of viola, composer and educator. When we were students, he'd always argue with me, Tanya, why do I need to know its resolution? Don't I resolve beautifully? And when he started doing composition, he has to go back and study composition and study music theory, being already in his 50s and being already renowned musician. Because you come to the point where you really feel a lack of it, and sooner or later musicians get to understand you move nowhere without a theory.
I am with you on that for sure.
You started a wonderful project in the early 90s?
No, it was in 1997.
1997.
Yes, in the fall of 97 we had our first guests, Tishchenko and Natsikanen.
Did somebody suggest why don't you establish the more closer connection?
No, nobody suggested that. Moreover, everyone, my teachers, my family, everyone was saying, don't even think about it because you are busy.
Really?
Yes, you are so busy with your own studies and dissertation and establishing yourself in a new life and studying English. So why do you need more? But why do we need more? Maybe because we're theorists. We are looking for new resolutions. When I came to your place, your student played this chord from C minor Nocturne. I love this chord. This, which could be in Chopin it resolved. But of course it could be resolved here or it could be resolved here.
In 10 different keys,
exactly.
as we know it.
As we know it, in different. So, looking for new way of resolutions. That's why I always say to my students or to my friends that there is always a resolution. There is always a way to resolve a conflict or a difficult situation or a crisis or something.
Or a chord.
Or a chord, and more than one. So yes, the Education Bridge project was born, was established at the university, and when I came to the administration first of the music department, and I said, why don't I bring some Russians here, big composers, big names, Shostakovich's pupils, and we will play their music and they will give master classes and we will have some exchange of views on music education. And she said, well, and who will pay for that? And I said, I don't know. I didn't think about it. So she said, well, go and think about it. So then I went and thought about it. And Tanchka, you wouldn't believe. I found the money. I found the money. I'm actually very lucky.
Which is a separate occupation.
Yes.
You have to know what you're doing.
You have to know who to apply, when to apply, what should be keywords. It is a profession.
It's a profession.
Yes, every profession could be.
When you started, there was a new person's luck.
Yes, probably. Yes, you're absolutely right. So that was the beginning.
I can see that 18th festival of the project that you're running falls right in the footsteps of the greater tradition that exists from early times, that great interaction of Russian and American arts. Look at those figures in literature, in art. that are very hard to say if they're Russians or Americans. Nabokov, who was writing beautifully in both languages, in Russian and in English. Amazing artist. Archil Gorky, an artist with a Russian-Armenian background that's so popular right now in America. Sergei Prokofiev, Rachmaninov, that are established the second citizenship, second residentship in America in very, very significant way. You just contributing to the same idea. Interaction and mutual help and mutual support of Russian and American art.
Well, thank you very much for even bringing me, my name and my organization into this phenomenal list of people. Traditions are very important, and that's why we were bringing Russians here to show what wonderful traditions live in Russian music education until now, and that's why we were taking Americans there and continue doing that to show what is new, because American music was not known well in Russia.
Not at all.
Not at all. West Side Story.
Leonard Bernstein.
Leonard Bernstein, of course, was known, and the names of big American composers were known, but the living composers, young composers, were not known. So
Mrs.
it was
Liebman.
very important.
Mrs. Liebman, speaking of big and famous, when I was a student, even in the music college, once the teacher asked us, who do you think of 20th century composers will strike it big like Bach or Beethoven and will become classical composers, meaning they outlive their generation and they will survive in the centuries? And we all started guessing. And then the answer was, only time will decide. You cannot decide now. Of course, there are three names that undoubtedly will serve: Prokofiev, Shostakovich, and Stravinsky. Those people that you're trying to bring, Russian pianists, Russian musicians, Russian composers, or American composers that come to Russia, time will decide. Maybe they will be that big.
Well, thank you very much. I'm looking at the program of one of the concerts that we had here in 2008 when St. Petersburg Mariinsky Theater soloists were here with Larisa Gergieva, sister of Valery Gergiev. Valery and I studied in the same year at the conservatory, so I have this...
This famous ballet?
Valery Gergiev, yes, the conductor, who is now, as we speak, in the Metropolitan Opera working on Boris Godunov.
I really want to speak about your 18th festival like a big thing, like a famous thing, like very much needed thing. Can you tell us a little more about who is coming and what kind of performances we're going to have, I guess in November-December time frame?
No, it is October, so from the 24th of October until the 10th of November. That's
you
why.
See the good thing
yes,
I asked.
Yes, I'm very nervous because it's about to begin. And as this main festival, it's not all the events of the festival. There are more than 20 events. All the events of the Education Bridge Project festivals are open to the public. There are several events that are by invitation only, but they are also free. Before I go to the programs, I just want to tell you that during those years, from 1997 until now, there were several major changes. One was that in 2006, the organization became independent. We left Boston University and received the nonprofit organization status, 501c3. So it is now a completely independent organization, which gave us a lot of freedom. And another big thing that happened, that we are not only in music anymore. Those educational exchanges became wider. For example, this year we will have on the 25th of October, second day of our festival, we will have an opening of the exhibit of visual artist, a very well-known artist, Luba Kostenko, who was born in Leningrad, St. Petersburg, and now she lives in two countries, St. Petersburg, Russia, and Amsterdam, Netherlands. So Luba is coming with her works. We are having opening of her exhibit at MIT on the 25th. I believe it's at 4 o'clock, and it's all on our website. And we also, first time in the history, we are having children. We will have 5 kids from St. Petersburg Musical Theater Zazerkalya coming here and working with the kids from the Lincoln Elementary School in Brookline. They will be presenting a very interesting historic children opera called Brundibar by Hans Krasa, which was performed in a concentration camp during the World War II.
Ludmila, knowing about your work and your background, I cannot help myself but ask the question about your publications that touch very sensitive topic.
My dissertation that I wrote here in Boston University was about the music of the Holocaust. And the topic was in teaching the Holocaust through music, because I wanted to include music into the Holocaust teaching. There is a lot done in academia on the films of the Holocaust and literature, of course, and even visual art of the Holocaust. But by the time I started my research, there was very little about music of the ghettos and concentration camps. But most importantly, I was able to propose a course. It was the first course in the history of higher education in America, in the university, the music of the Holocaust. From 2001 until 2009, I was teaching this course at Boston University, and I have 500 students who write to me, and this crowd was completely different from the crowd of music theory students, of course. And we not only, it was a very interdisciplinary approach to the course. It was philosophy, writings, listening to the music, and since these were the students who didn't have a requirement of music, of either playing or even minoring in music, so I had to rearrange my thinking of how to teach. So I cannot play or I cannot say something F sharp and they would understand what I'm saying. But what was important, and that's what we did, using this interdisciplinary and a very active approach, to have those students to sing the songs of the Vilna Ghetto, to play the music on the accordions or guitar or whatever means they could, that existed in the ghettos, because not very many people know that there were 5 musical theaters in Warsaw. There were 3 orchestras in Auschwitz, and there was women's music ensemble in Auschwitz, which was led by the niece of Gustav Mahler, Alma Rosa, a wonderful violinist in her own right. She was directing this women's ensemble. So not only we studied that, not only we played this music, or they acted this Brundibar, the opera that I mentioned. My students every year were performing opera Brundibar music majors and non-music majors who cannot even sing at all. They sang in a chorus, or they would dance. So it was a big event, and they were doing a PowerPoint presentation on the Warsaw Ghetto, on Vilna Ghetto, on concentration camps. I remember once one of the students said, "Professor, leave the class." So I left the class, and then he said, "Come in." And as I was coming in, everyone was wearing Nazi. So the class was divided. Some was wearing Nazi sign, and some were wearing
concentration
camp. And when I came in, because he was a commander, a Nazi commander in the camp, that was the role, he started yelling at me. So it was very interesting. The approach that they took was very active and very intense. And
would you allow me to use your materials and show our listeners little excerpts from the Brandebourg opera as it was staged in St. Petersburg?
Yes, this was the kids from St. Petersburg who are coming here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for doing that, and I would like to use this opportunity. And
I know all the operas there are, and this is one opera in the world that I don't know, really.
Yeah, well, the opera was performed in Terezin, and I will tell you, if I may, I'll tell you the story. I was lecturing about the music of the Holocaust and creative activities of children in Terezin at Brandeis University last November. It was one of the last days of the last year festival. And I was lecturing at this Women's Research Study Center, and I was showing a PowerPoint presentation of one of my students, Samantha Gelfand, and I was showing the fragment of the movie, of the film Brandebourg, that kids at the Theresienstadt ghetto were performing. And all of a sudden, a man from the audience stood up, walked through the hall, pointed to a boy standing and singing the final chorus from the Brandebourg, and he said, "This is me. My name is Michael Grunbaum. I was there in Theresienstadt with my mother and my sister, and we survived because we were taking off the train, EQ. You know, the Germans didn't put the numbers on the train, they put the letters. So it was EQ train. We were taken out because my mother wrote a petition to the Nazi commander. She said, I am making teddy bears. This is October. We are close to the holidays, winter holidays. And if you send me and my kids, who will be making those teddy bears? That's why we were taking off the train. And then Michael Grunbaum gave me a 2010 calendar. It was 2009. He gave me a calendar for the upcoming year. And in this calendar that was issued by the Holocaust Museum in Washington, there is the month of November, which was dedicated to the story of Teddy Bear, Michael's mother, heroic mother, and his sister and himself. So
this is a story. I think people who are sensitive to Holocaust issue, everybody needs to know.
I think
how can you miss this story and not know it?
It's
very
special.
It's a very special
story, and we live in a very special city because Michael Grunbaum lives in Brookline, and in Newton, another survivor from Terezin lives with his wife, Edgar Krasa, who was a cook. He was older than Grunbaum. He was a cook. He worked in Theresienstadt, and he shared the room because he was in a privileged position and he always had food to eat. He shared the room with Raphael Schechter, a composer and conductor and pianist. Raphael Schechter was the one who made the prisoners of the camp sing Verdi Requiem. You probably know about that because a lot was written about it. I can talk a lot about it, but I'm glad that you asked me this question, and please feel free to show the fragments, and maybe our audience members will come to the Lincoln Elementary School on the 27th and 28th of October at 7 o'clock to see the production of Burundi Bar by children of St. Petersburg and Brookline. We also are showing Burundi Bar at Boston University on the 29th, next day, at 4 o'clock at the Humphrey Fellowship Program on Commonwealth Avenue. I believe it's 704 Commonwealth Avenue, Humphrey Fellowship Program.
Is this opera going in Russian or in English?
No, the opera was written in Czech, of course, and it's opera with dialogues. It will be in English.
Dialogues will be in English?
Everything will be in English, so the kids are studying very hard, the Russian kids. And they will be living in the host families of Lincoln Elementary School. We are very lucky. Lincoln School's principal, Kristen Herbert, is very supportive, and their music teacher, Molly Quilnon, she spent the whole year preparing for this occasion. So.
Very nice to know. Very nice to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Milechka, to the conclusion of our endless topic, would you please tell us more about how we can get information about 18th Festival that your organization puts on October and November?
Well, I think that the easiest way to get the information about the education project, Bridge Project in general, and our past festivals and current festivals is to going on our website. It's www and then one word, educationalbridgeproject.org, www.educationalbridgeproject.org, or you can Google Educational Bridge Project and there will be our website. So, and
it's easy to remember, very interesting to know, and it's a curious, very curious topic.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming here and spending part of your valuable Sunday time with us. We hope to see more of you, and we hope to elaborate on the topics that we just brought up. I think they're worth it. They're very rich and very worthy of knowing more about. Thank you again so much.
Thank you for inviting me.